Okay, today we're looking at the love dynamic. This is Advent Week 2, which is love and understanding. And as you know, I'm not taking the traditional view of Advent, that I focus instead on what we consider the four qualities of God. Last week we focused on life. This week it's love. Next week will be power, and then intelligence. So it's a way to build up our expectation and our preparation for the inner awakening of that Christ spirit, or the deeper spiritual understanding, the awareness of the soul that we think Jesus expressed. So love is one of my favorite subjects. It used to be one I was kind of avoided because I didn't know how to tell people how to love your neighbor, because we go through the motions of doing that, and it's not easy to do. When you have someone that you don't like, how do you love them? And so we tend to put on a front that says, I will pretend like I love them, but inside I really don't. I'm having a hard time with them. We all know what that's like, and so I would avoid that, because I would feel like a hypocrite to get up here and tell you to love your neighbor when I couldn't stand mine. Especially the one that borrowed the shovel and never brought it back, But I think you understand what I'm talking about with that challenge. That's a pretty high bar to be able to look at everybody, to love someone that you would consider an enemy in the same way you would love a family member, same way you would love somebody close to you. As Jesus pointed out, that's not too hard to do, to love somebody that's close. But it's all the other people. So there's a way to approach this issue, this problem, that I have found very helpful, and we'll get into that. But love in action there's a song called Love is a Magnet, and I like that song. We didn't want to sing it today because we want to do Christmas stuff, but it says, love draws to me that which is for my highest good and dissolves that which is not. When you think of a magnet draws to it metal, and it also repels. If you flip the magnet over, it has a negative and a positive pull. So there's two things. So if we think of love active in our life right now and say that love is drawing to me that which is for my highest good and dissolving that which is not, that's really the activity of love. That's how it is behaving. And if you look all throughout nature, you'll see love in action in that way. If you see a mother fox with a couple of kids, a couple of babies, she does everything in her power to draw to them that which is for their highest good, and she chases off or dissolves that which is not. And that's a very simple idea, but you'll see this every place, that this is the nature of nature, that it's love in action, and it's probably not something we normally think of as love. But if you can look at another person and say the same thing, love is drawing to you that which is for your highest good and dissolving that which is not. You could say that for your enemy. You could say that for a person you don't particularly like. And so you would be able to love your neighbor in that regard as you love yourself, that you would be able to wish for them. You may not like them. I don't think there's any rule that says we have to like the ones we love. That's always going to be the case. There's always going to be personality clashes and, things that stand in our way. We just don't all see eye to eye. But we can still love them. We can still offer this opportunity to see the best and highest for them. We may not be the ones that are bringing the best and highest. We actually are if we're holding them in that prayer. But we can see that the best and highest is being drawn to them, and that which is not for the best and highest is being dissolved. And maybe that which is being dissolved is the relationship we have with him. You know, that's always a possibility. So there's a very broad way to look at it, and it's not skirting the issue, it's taking a practical view of something, because I just cannot love or have the same level of emotion of love for someone I don't care for that I can for someone I do care for. And that's just something I have to admit, you know, to face. But that doesn't make me a bad person. It means there's got to be another way to approach this. And that way, to me, is to be able to step back, take myself out of the picture. They don't have to meet my approval. You know, that's another very important idea. They don't have to meet my approval for them to be a good person. We can be on two very different wavelengths, and that's just fine. So when Jesus was asked what the greatest commandments in the law were, he said that to love the Lord your God with all your mind, heart, and soul. The second is to love your neighbor as yourself. So he put the activity of love number one on the list in terms of what is the best and highest thing that we can do. And I think it's important that he focus first on loving the Lord your God. What's that mean? And to me, it means that presence that is within me, it's within you, it's within everybody. It's never leaves, it's always there. And it is love in action. It is drawing to me that which is for my highest good and dissolving that which is not. That is why I think I made that breakthrough, and I've had the help. That's not original. That statement is not totally original with me. But I think I added the part about the dissolving. But the idea of God is within me. When Jesus was asked, when's the kingdom coming, he said it doesn't come through observation. You don't say, lo here, lo there, for the kingdom of God is within you or in the midst of you. So I take that as God as love is active in me now, is at this very moment drawing to me that which is for my highest good and dissolving that which is not. So if I'm sitting here worried about something, and I remember that, whatever it is I'm worried about, that the activity of God as love is drawing to me that which is for my highest good, this very moment. So that would tell me that if that's true, there's no need to worry. And if it's dissolving that which is not for my highest good, that is a double whammy on the worry thing. You know, we let go. And if you truly move into that state of mind, you will change. And what does it mean to repent? It means change your mind. The word prayer comes from the Aramaic word slotha, or the Aramaic word slotha translated as prayer means to make an adjustment. So what are we adjusting? Are we asking God to adjust that other person, to adjust the condition? Or are we adjusting to the idea that love, God is love, is now drawing to us that which is for our highest good and dissolving that which is not? That's an adjustment. That's a prayer. It's the highest prayer I can pray. To embrace that truth that is happening now. I don't make it happen by saying that. I acknowledge that it's happening. And my acknowledgement is really the answer to the prayer. And it's just a matter of time as to how that unfolds, how I begin to see evidence of that fact, of that truth. So the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God. That's understand that the presence of God as love is active in you at this very moment. If you don't love that idea, if you don't love explore the nature of God. How do I see God? Do I see God as an old man up in the sky that I have to please? As I said a couple weeks ago, the idea of prayer being overcoming the reluctance of God. Prayer is making an adjustment. It's adjusting our thinking to what is true of God. God is love. And love is drawing to me at this moment that which is for my highest good and dissolving that which is not. God is love, from 1 John 4:8, drawing to us that which is for our highest good and dissolving that which is not. To love the Lord our God is to recognize this is happening now and always. This is the ultimate affirming attitude toward God. That's really the only prayer we need to utter. I think it was Meister Eckhart who said that the only prayer we need to utter is thank you, which is pretty simple. I like them both, actually. But this idea that God is active in us now, it's not something that we invoke. I grew up with the idea that, your prayer kind of gets God's attention. Like you've got this problem and God is not aware of it, so you need to let him know that you've got this problem and it needs to be solved, and you have some ideas on how he needs to solve it. But what if you say instead that God already knows that? Before they call, I will answer. Whatsoever you ask for in prayer, believe you've received. What if you recognize that process is already underway? That which is for your highest good is now being drawn to you, and that which is not is being dissolved. That is to make a major adjustment. Believe you've received it. That's a huge jump. Jesus was talking to people who were not used to believing that they had received what they're asking for. I think overall he was talking to the peasant class. They say that he was born a peasant, that there's kind of mixed ideas on who Jesus was, where he was on the social ladder, but most scholars tend to agree that he had a peasant following, people that were used to scraping just to get by. And here he was saying, whatsoever you ask for in prayer, believe you've received it. They were not used to hearing things like that. So if you say to yourself that at this very moment, love is dissolving, love is drawing to me that which is for my highest good and dissolving that which is not. Not as if you're trying to make it happen, but to acknowledge that it is happening. Very important difference. That's believing you've already received. To hold this same thought for others is the highest, most freeing form of prayer that we can utter. To pray love draws to you that which is for your highest good and dissolves that which is not, is freeing both to you and to the one for which you speak it. That's another benefit that I found, that when I think of someone that I'm maybe struggling with, and I say this for them, it frees me, because I'm not battling whatever differences we may have. I'm not trying to resolve that. I'm not trying to fix that. If it's true that love is drawing to them that which is for their highest good, then our problem will be solved. It'll be resolved in some way, because that would be for the highest good of them and for those of us that are involved in the other side. If we acknowledge that's already happening and that which is not for our highest good is being dissolved, you have to let your emotion change when you say these words, when you think this idea. That we don't try to figure out how this is happening, we just acknowledge that it is. Does anybody know how the earth turns, what makes it work? Do we all have to pray for that to keep it going? The ancient Egyptians used to think something like that. They thought the priest's job was to keep the sun moving across the sky. And they probably had a heyday with taxes when they knew the eclipse was coming. Because they could say, you guys are not paying your share, so we're going to kind of dim things today. And they were good astronomers. They knew when eclipses were coming, so I'm sure they milked that to the hilt. I would if I was them. But that's, we don't we look at that and laugh now. The priests had nothing to do with the sun moving across the sky. They thought it was this big chariot, and they had to keep it going. And I think sometimes we think we have to do that too in our own way, in our own life. Sometimes the answer is not figuring things out, it's letting go. And that letting go sometimes is quite inspirational. We get ideas we didn't know we had. That's why we emphasize meditation is you sit down and be still and let go of all the stuff that you're dealing with and open yourself to a higher idea, higher ideals, higher vision, and to let that inner kingdom come to the forefront of your mind. And it brings about changes that you may not have even thought about. And the number one change is you may get to the point where you're okay with whatever happens. You know, that's, to me, one of the most important changes that can occur. You're backed up against the wall, you're as far as you're going to go, and that's it. And you say, I'm done. You know, so I'm okay with whatever happens. Any of you ever been in that state? We've all been there. I think I've never been stronger than when I was at my weakest point, when something was happening in my life that I didn't know how to resolve. And there is something about getting to the point where I don't know how to fix this, so I surrender to a higher answer. And when you surrender, that's your point of strength. You found your center of power. Because it's not you that does the work. It's this power greater than yourself. It's this inner power that's always been there. And if we look off in another direction toward the problem, you know, where the Israelites running from the Egyptians with the Red Sea on one side, Egyptians on the other, that's the original between a rock and a hard place. There's not much hope. But what did Moses say to do? He said, first of all, fear not. Lift up your eyes. Stop looking at the problem. And start looking at the answer. See the salvation that the Lord will work for you today. That's prayer. That's a change of thought. That's a big adjustment. And I can't say that if I was one of those Israelites, I would have believed what Moses was saying, because that would probably look pretty real. But it's the principle that we're interested in discerning, and it's that principle we use in prayer. We are taking our eyes off the problem and saying that love draws to me right now that which is for my highest good and dissolves that which is not. Think of love not as a thing that can be given or withheld, but as a perpetual action. At this very moment, as you read or hear these words, know that the action of love is drawing to you that which is for your highest good. So love, we have been kind of trained to think of it as a commodity. I like country music, but if you take out the heartbreaks and how I can't live without you, you know, I'm going to die if you leave me kind of attitude. Well, it's not just country. It's every genre of music, because that sells. We like the idea of being madly in love with somebody we can't live without. And if somebody tells you that they can't live without you, say, well, let's try that and just see what happens, you know, because I think we probably can. That's called clinging, and we don't want that either. That's not about releasing. And we've all been there too. We've all clung to things that we didn't think we could live without. There's no question about it. I found myself in that state of mind many times, that I think the answer, God, is fix this, you know, exactly like I think it needs to be fixed. And God says, well, that's okay, you know, but I've got a better idea. And so something better unfolds. And we don't always see it till it's done, till we're through it. And that's kind of an interesting problem. That's called living by faith. If we know how it's going to work out, we don't have a need for faith. But if we don't know how it's going to work out, but we affirm that it is going to work out, we're affirming in faith. We're invoking our faculty of faith. And that's a very important faculty. Imagination is another. What are we visualizing? What are we seeing? That's why Moses said, lift up your eyes. Take your imagination off of the problem and put it on the answer, put it on the possible solution. But don't try to lock it in. Do there appear to be obstacles to your peace, success, health, prosperity, or harmony in relationships? Then know that these obstacles are being dissolved right now. Most of us can probably name whatever obstacles we're confronted with. And that's one of the problems, is when you name something, it becomes real to you. It becomes a force, a power. And so we want to get our mind back on the activity of love. It is dissolving that which is not for our highest good. But what if you're saying something is a problem, but it ultimately works out where you're learning something from it? It is for your highest good. Can you be open to that kind of a shift in thinking? Most of us would rather not, probably. We'd rather say, well, that's fine, but I'd rather not have to go through that. It is often our darkest moments that are our teaching moments, where we learn the most. And nobody wants those. None of us want those. But, and I'm not saying that we should go out looking for them either, because I don't think we should. But if one is upon us, if we're involved in something now that appears to be an obstacle, don't try to break that obstacle down. Don't try to knock a hole in the wall like we have here. Just know that love is doing that for us. That love is doing the breaking down of the wall, is opening up the barrier in some way. And we don't have to know how that is. And I get very impatient with waiting sometimes, don't you? But it's interesting. I'm still here. All the problems I've had in my life, and I've had many, probably, maybe fewer than you all. I don't know. Maybe more. I doubt it. Ministry is not easy. It's everybody thinks if I could just be a minister, my life would be easy. Fred thinks I work 20 minutes a week. But I work 24/7, Fred, so I'm always at this. Just rest easy. If we're tempted to feel undeserving, we let love dissolve this feeling. Love is not a thing we earn. It is the very nature of the creative life force that is loving us into existence. All feelings of undeserving are based on our misunderstanding of this unconditional nature of God as love. And that is tied into James' passage about, or Jesus talking about the sun shines on the just and the unjust, rain falls on just and the unjust. It's not a matter of deserving. You're going to get sunshine and rain no matter. And those are good things. Sunshine and rain are both good things. That's how he's using the terms. So if we're in an undeserving state of mind, let's let love dissolve that. Let's let love dissolve all the barriers. See love dissolving the barriers that are in us. Attitude is very important. When you sit down to pray about something, how do you know your prayer is answered? You know by how you feel. You don't go out and look to see if the prayer is answered. You don't go out and see if things have changed. You look at how you feel. When you get to the point where you know, because whatsoever you ask for in prayer, believe you received. When you know that you've received, you will feel it. And you will get up from your prayer time fearless. You will no longer be afraid of that thing, or afraid of the thing not working out or going in a direction you're not wanting. When you reach that point in yourself, when you're okay with however it works out, then your prayer is answered. And you get up and you just walk through your life, you walk through that situation, and you'll see that it resolves. And if you don't believe me, just look at your own life. How many times has that happened? How many times have you been in a situation you didn't think you were going to survive? I mean, not necessarily die, but to emotionally you just couldn't handle. And how many of you have been pushed to the end of your rope so far that you finally let go? You know, we've all been there. And we're here. And that's what we need to keep reminding ourselves of. We're on this path. We're on this journey. We have everything we need to take each step successfully. And sometimes it does come down to each step. Do I have the faith and the courage to take the next step? And what's the next step? Sometimes it's just be here. To say something like, love draws to me that which is for my highest good and dissolves that which is not. If I can say that, that's a big step. If I can say it with meaning, that's a bigger step. Affirming this love dynamic is active in us and in our life right now is key to experiencing the spiritual birth we celebrate during this Christmas season. With this understanding, we open our minds and hearts to the more abundant life that we know can be ours. So this whole idea of the birth of Christ, we can look back 2,000 years, or we can look at this moment. Where is this birth occurring? If you are having an issue in your life, that birth needs to occur now. Because as we're told, that which is in you is greater than that which is in the world. So why am I letting this world run over me? Because I'm not letting that which is in me that is greater than the world come forth. That's the symbolic birth of Christ in us. It's letting that power, that center of power, come forth into a practical situation so that the thing I desire, I know is coming forth in one form or another. And I'm open and receptive to that challenge and that change. You can take any situation in your life today and you can apply this principle to it and you'll change. Not necessarily the thing, not necessarily the condition, but watch yourself. If you change in it, then you've changed. Your prayer is answered. Just a matter of time before it works out. Thank you for watching this week's program. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with others. We want to reach as many people as we can, and we appreciate your help. We have many subjects in our video lineup, so feel free to take a look. If there's a topic you don't see and would like me to address, just put it in the comment section. I'd love to know what's on your mind. Thanks again for your interest in Independent Unity, and have a wonderful week.